3 days ago, Wargaming officially leaked the brand new Tier 10 collector heavy tank that we're gonna get into the game, the STRVK. Through the description of their post, they also teased us a little bit about the statistics, stating that this Tier 10 collector heavy tank is supposed to be pretty fast for its class, not well armored, but possessing a high DPM gun. And obviously, based on the statistics they just cited, it makes me feel a lot like a T95V6, because this tank is also known for these exact factors. The main difference here being that the STRVK is a mix between two tanks, the Kranwagen hull at tier 10 and the Centurion 7-1 turret at tier 9. It's understandable that Wargaming really wants to make this tank not armored at all, which implies that it's going to lighten the armor profile of the hull of the Kranwagen, because obviously in its current state it's too strong for it to get a good mobility. But for the turret, it's a little bit different. If they use the real turret of the Centurion 7-1 without touching the statistics, it could be quite useful. Not necessarily when you take it without angling it at all, because here you still have 250mm of penetration easily going through this turret. But as soon as you use your 10 degrees of gun depression, which is a perk you're going to keep on your STRVK, then all of a sudden it becomes much more interesting, even if you will still have those two weak spots here and here. Wargaming stated that this tank is going to have a high DPM, but is it going to be a high DPM because of your reload time or because of your alpha damage? Which is the next question we are going to answer. Is this tank going to be equipped with HESH shells or not? HESH shells are a type of shells typical to the British tech tree because it's the one that will allow you to have more alpha damage to the downside of having less penetration than regular tanks. So for example, if we take a look at the Centurion 7-1, you see that you have the possibility of going to 550 alpha damage, so the exact same as the HE regular shell, but you will get nearly 200mm of penetration, even a little bit more if you're lucky. And if Wargaming implements such a thing on the new STRVK, it's definitely going to make it hilarious to play with. But at the same time, you will need to effectively be accurate because obviously they did not say anything about the accuracy. With this tank, and specifically if you're using HESH shells, you need to shoot at weak spots, and to shoot weak spots, you need to be sure to aim at them. You already know this, but the STRVK is a tank that is already available in World of Tanks PC. It's a tier 9 premium, and to be honest with you, the vast majority of people will tell you that it's total shit. It's basically a Sapaton that surfed on the hype creating the tank to make it sell, and even if it worked in the first time, currently if you take a look at any reviews, they will all tell you that there are much better tanks to get at tier 9, especially in World of Tanks PC. But don't let yourself be too influenced by World of Tanks PC, because we know that World of Tanks Blitz and PC are totally different games. And here I'm pretty sure that the STRVK is going to be a great tank with which you're gonna have a lot of fun as long as you are this type of player. The type of player that knows what he's doing. The type of players that have some map knowledge, that is used to get to the point, not get punished too much for their mistakes, meaning that you nearly never do mistakes, etc, etc. Because the STRVK, as presented by Wargaming, is a tank that requires a lot of skill. And obviously it's a great thing knowing that it's possibly going to be the main tank of an upcoming event that we're going to talk about in this video as well. And yeah, we know that when it's coming into an event and a lot of people can get it, it's preferable that those tanks are not broken by themselves, but rather broken because of the use you're gonna make out of the tank. But even if it's effective, is it going to be a good tank to play with? A tank with which you are gonna have fun? In my opinion, all depends on the HESH type of shell. If, yes, you are equipped with HESH shell, it's definitely gonna add a nice touch to this tank, because currently most tanks from the British tech tree beside the AV4202 are bad because they have low roll. Even if they reload fast, it's just boring. There is nothing really interesting, you know, that psychological factor that tells you, okay, here I did big damage or I'm about to make good damage, so I'm happy to play with the tank. Whereas if they put the HESH shells on the STRVK like they did on the AV4202, you're gonna think to yourself, okay, if I do well, I know that I can climb up to more than 4, 5, 6,000 damage in a row. And I gotta be honest, that this is what we're expecting from a good tank that we pay money for, something with which we can have some fun, something with which we're gonna have a lot of damage, etc, etc. And at the same time, I just hope that they're gonna release a crazy attachment on it, because obviously in its current state, we saw the tank through the Wargaming's profile on Instagram. It looks a little bit bland. I wish that they could put something on it, but I'm pretty sure that they're working on it, because obviously if it's going to be an event tank, it's not going to be released specifically being a premium or a collector as just a regular tank without legendary camo. And of course, all of that leads me to the date of the release of the tank, which is probably going to be Christmas. Why Christmas? Because usually when Wargaming is testing a tier 10 collector tank around October, knowing that it approximately takes 3 months to release it, it just gets close to December and therefore the mighty Christmas event. And we all know that for years now, Wargaming is always releasing a new tier 10 collector for Christmas. And well, even if I have some doubts on the veracity of this one, is it really going to be the STRVK? We have other opponents potentially that could take the lead. And the challenge is brought to you by the Caro 45 ton, which was a tested tier 10 collector tank, a medium tier 10 with auto reloading mechanism from the European tech tree, and most specifically Italian, that should compete with the Progetto. Of course, we have never heard about it again, which makes me think that it's not going to be implemented yet, or if it is, maybe that it's going to be a tech tree, because we literally have no informations about the tank. But all I can tell you is that based on the look it has and based on the statistics, it would make a much better reward for a tier 10 during Christmas. But I'm not Wargaming, I'm not a developer, and I'm gonna leave them to their work. Hopefully they know what they're doing, unlike what they did with the Annihilator when they released it. So the question is, should you get hyped for the STRVK? Of course, as always, I'm going to tell you that it's not necessarily worth it to get hyped before we have access to the statistics, before we know much more about the tank. But to be fair with you, there are so many things that Wargaming needs to explain about the tank that it's quite hard for me to do a whole preview of the tank without having nothing to eat, you know? So, do you think this tank is going to be worth it or not? Tell me in the comments, and I'm going to see you soon for a new video. Bye.